Harpers Ferry National Park, Manti-La Salle National Forest for revision. Got a Northwest California bill. Whew, lots of policy issues across the country.
Sounds like you got a lot on your plate, Dad.
I do. Not sure where to start today.
Maybe you should go on a walk to clear your mind.
It's a good idea. I think I will.
Okay, bye.
So for 30 years, Access Fund's acquisition work, our stewardship work, our policy work has all been built on these relationships with the climbing community, our conservation partners, land managers, and professional climbers. Ironically, there's one right now. Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Eric.
How's it going?
Good to see you, man.
I was just chatting about the Access Fund. Do you mind taking a stroll and talking to me a little bit about your relationship with the Access Fund?
Yeah, not at all. Sounds great. When I was probably 18 years old, I got invited to be on the board of the Access Fund. That's really when it hit home that if we don't have somebody out there looking out for these places, the resource is going to slowly get picked away at. Being a father ups kind of the urgency to solve these problems. We have to make the policy changes right now so that they can have a better life. I mean, if I could say one thing to every climber, I think it would be to encourage them to see climbing as this activity that can affect public lands advocacy. When I learned to do that, it really enhanced my climbing experience. I mean, everybody wants to be involved in something that feels larger than themselves. I mean, maybe that's why we climb in the first place.
Access Fund works at the national level and the local level. For example, we help pass federal laws to protect wilderness climbing, and we also work to help protect access to local climbing areas like here in Estes Park. Coincidentally, here's Quinn Brett.
How's it going, Eric? Public lands have been incredibly formative to my being. First job with the national parks was working as a climbing ranger, so a professional rescuer, and now I'm back working with the national park, trying to create more access in the backcountry. We're starting to overfill this space and we need to have a discussion about it, and we need more stewardship opportunities. Most important things that we can do to improve climbing policy, I think, are to create more of it. I know as climbers it's like something that we're totally against, but I think we need to have a little bit more scaffolding built around where we're climbing, who's climbing, and that will hopefully do some preventative search and rescue as well. My first trip to Capitol Hill, I learned personal stories really do matter. Climbers are really good advocates for public lands because just as we're passionate about rock climbing, we are equally as passionate about telling our stories about rock climbing. So we can do that in Capitol Hill. And I think it's really important that we are there speaking, because we all have a vast amount of experiences, and just sharing those and the importance of them is what brings people along. And in the next 20 years, I hope that that continues. I hope we can keep broadening the scope of who are climbers and what we do as climbers.
I was a member for Access Fund for a while before I started Brown Girls Climb. So as a member, I felt like it was my responsibility to get involved with what the climbing community was doing, especially as it relates to kind of establishing these climbing areas and routes. As Brown Girls Climb developed, many of us felt like this was an important conversation to make sure that it's accessible, to make sure that they're bolted and safe. It was important for us to partner with Access Fund, and those conversations have been historically disjointed about how it relates to communities of color and then climbing access. It's always interconnected, and we wanted to make sure that we were having a conversation with Access Fund and they were hearing us and we were hearing them. It's been really good. I feel like I've, as a member, felt heard and have established really good relationships with folks inside Access Fund to know, like, okay, they've got our backs, we got their backs.
Hey. How's it going? Good to see you.
We're listening to each other and we're growing around these topics that are honestly really complex, and it takes a lot of time and energy to understand how do we create an accessible, equitable crag, knowing that we may not have the perfect answer, but we're giving it our best shot.
So this student was teaching a rock climbing class after school, and I took this course from, and that student who was the teacher was John Long. And we started climbing together, and we got to be good friends with a good circle of people who eventually became known as Stone Masters. I'm most proud of being involved in starting the Access Fund. We were a volunteer organization. Everybody was doing this in their spare time. And now we have a real staff-driven organization with people who are really good at what they do, and they're devoting full time to it. And consequently, it's much more effective than we were. As you know, climbing's becoming more and more popular. It's going to be in the Olympics, and I think it's good for people to get outside and know these federal lands and state lands that are so important to conservation and to mental fitness. For the Access Fund, it represents an opportunity to get a lot more people involved. I would like to make it a part of being a climber that everybody does something to get involved in the Access Fund.
The Access Fund's key because we have to have a national organization that has a deep bench of experience that can go to Washington, D.C. and knows how to get things done in our nation's capital, but also is connected with climbers all over the country, is run by climbers, is powered by climbers, is funded by climbers. And so we're not going to be influenced by anybody else. We're going to stay true to our mission. We're going to represent the 7 million climbers across America, and we have the experience and we have the resources to go and bring that message to policymakers in Washington, D.C. There's no other organization in the country that can do that.